Everybody, welcome to episode 154, I think, probably, of Tactical Crouch. Kickedtripod here, back in the saddle with Yiska and Volamel. Welcome to a very merry Tactical Crouch. Hope you're having a great holiday. And, man, it is...
It's your Christmas sweater.
Thank you. It's Lord of the Rings. Everybody keeps asking what it is. It's Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, would you have picked up on that? Because I was like kind of impressed. Like when I started looking, I'm like, oh, you're right, it is. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, the writing makes sense. The eye makes sense. I think based on that, I would have.
Don't know. I'm
flailing. Anyways, good to see you guys. Missed you. Out on vacation though, it was great. It was relaxing. Had a ton of fun being with Katie's family. Don't worry, we quarantined before and after. We were as safe as we could be. We all drove. We didn't fly.
It's good.
So that's what it was.
All good things. Glad everybody's safe.
Yep. And we've been getting weekly quarantine tests for the past 30 weeks or whatever. So
nice.
Anyways, I think we're okay. But yes, we're back. It's good to see you all. Big thanks to everybody who's here in the chat. Big thanks to everybody who is listening throughout the week, wherever you are, getting ready for the holidays. Hope it's going to be a great one for you all. We know it's a pretty weird year to be having a holiday. Good thing there's a new WoW expansion.
True.
It's helped me not think about that as much. My mom's like, when are you going to come visit me in Florida?
Never.
I'm like, well, you could get me a private jet.
Yeah, right.
We'll fly. Yep. We'll fly there.
Are you paying?
Yeah. I was like, I'm not flying on...
Buy me a bubble suit.
Not flying American Airlines during a pandemic, ma.
Hey, ma.
He goes, well, you could drive.
Yeah.
From Northern California to Southern Florida. We can drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay for tea and drive back.
Drive right off the Rocky Mountain slope. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I go, the furthest I'll drive is Vegas. If everyone wants to meet us there. But then again, I don't want to go to Vegas right now either. Okay, anyways. Big thanks to our patron producers, Refined Bean, Ferdino, Pin, Battlecrab, Lulshin, Rex Zane, Audio Compass, Kasha67, Shara Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Fabled Steven, Roger B. Owen, Chris R34444, Horbjorn, and listen to the podcast with something twit in the shower thinking of Yiska, Peace Camper, Anxiety Pokemon, Sir Girthalot, Bronzebot, Boohow, Evan, and Alex S.
Anxiety Pokemon.
Sup. That was formerly Shrek 2 on DVD.
Oh. It's Shrek 2.
So I believe it. I believe it is anyway. There's no way to like go through and see name changes. But I was just making sure. I just wanted to make sure that our patron producer thing was up to date. Because I didn't want to mess it up. If you like the show, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. We're going to be doing, I believe, one game night, and then we're going to do like a movie night.
Ideally. This month probably is a little tough, but
it's a little odd. For some people, the holiday makes it really easy. For some people, the holiday makes it really hard.
Right.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll get through this together. I shouldn't say that. We will figure out the game night together, and we'll let you know. But I got to be honest, guys. There's a lot I need you to let me know because I've been a little in the woods on some of these things, and I feel like I just came up. I just came up for some air.
Yeah,
and a lot has. I feel like a lot has changed in the last couple of days or weeks.
Yeah,
feels like days, dude. That's so fast.
I think like the first thing that we should probably inform you about that Barroi is no longer with the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sus.
Dude, I have a lot of opinions about that. I will say, I think it's okay. Okay, let's say this, right? I don't think if I have an out of body experience and just consider the position, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a situation where you probably don't need more than one English speaking coach, and with Glitch that is covered, right? There is also something to be said, maybe about clean slates, about salaries, about I don't know what else could be involved. What definitely needs to be said is that it is pretty rotten, morally rotten, to release someone this late into the offseason. And frankly, I'm not sure if that job is still open. But Overwatch League fans should also be pissed about this, because this is your premier guy for taking the spot from Captain Planet, taking it over. Oh. That's a guy that did statistics against the pressures of competition. So whatever you're getting from him is stress tested, right? Like, that is the next best thing we could have had. I'm not sure if that's still on the table, but like this late into all of this, dude, unbelievable. And I don't think they have quite understood that their decision is a black swan event. That they aren't seeing it coming, but it's going to be rough for them.
So okay, I forgive. I've got some ignorant questions here that I feel like I need to ask. Mm-hmm. So let me. Number one, is there not 4 months until the off season is over?
Yes, there is, but a lot of teams have already
now.
They've already
all spots are gone.
Yeah, there's not a ton of. There could be room in the future, depending on things that happen. Teams have already kind of not solidified. I think that's a little too strong, but I think they've already got ideas and started to build. And before that process, usually, at least in my assumption, would be to solidify your coaching staff first. So because we're so far into the process, granted that there is so much time to the start of the season, there's really not a ton of space left. So it is a concern. It is kind of late right now that they would just drop it or drop this news on him like they did. And yeah, it's bizarre. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay, that's my first question. The second question is, I see kind of like unilateral support in the industry from people I know and trust in the Overwatch League for Barroi. Bench even went as far as to say he was deadlifting the org in the offseason like Avala with Paris, ran NA trials by himself, acted in the GM role when Albus left, provided individual feedback to every single player who trialed this offseason. Isn't like, what's the right way to ask this question? How do teams not make that space?
You'd assume so. If somebody is doing that, and from everything that I've heard, that is, pretty true, or very true. So when you have somebody like that who's capable of doing that, who does that for you for multiple years, or at least has grown into that role, you'd think that you'd make space for that person. Again, this feels just like Toronto not really understanding what they have, and then just kind of flying by to see their pants and then just letting them go. And it's, especially this late in the off season, it doesn't seem entirely super planned. Yeah. There's not much positive to say about this other than hopefully he can find a home where he's properly appreciated. As much as it seems, rosy and oh, we wish you the best in your next endeavors, the action doesn't support the messaging, unfortunately. I don't think you can say that and then immediately release somebody this late into the offseason and really feel that, or at least make it genuine that you believe that.
Yeah.
Do you think Toronto is competent enough to even know that?
To know what they have?
Like the organization itself. Like, we have seen organizations, usually GMs and above, and often not GMs. GMs is kind of split 50-50 from like endemic esports people and non-endemic esports people, and not that one is smart and one is dumb, but in a case like this, one set tends to drop the ball a little bit more than others. We've seen that type of incompetence from organizations as far as knowing who they have, being able to hold on to them, doing right by the person and when and how they're released or signed. Like, just think of all the stuff that even somebody like Hastro had to go through with the Dallas Fuel with letting go of Decay, right? And, again, it all came down to, was this incompetence? Was this malicious? Was there malicious intent behind it?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the first time we've seen orgs just like, without any malintent, make a decision that negatively affects the individual, and they could have done it better, and they didn't know or didn't consider it.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it looks like a good decision to them based on what they had. Probably not an easy one. I appreciate that. I don't think they understand the tail end of that decision whatsoever. And that will hit them, I think. So yeah, it's a rough one. Also didn't see it coming really.
Yeah.
Barroi, we've always got a fourth chair for you here on Tactical Crouch, by the way.
Yeah.
At the very least, be our SNL announcer guy.
Roy's
just at the very beginning.
Fantastic arena host. He's got a definite career in that. It's just kind of sad. It's a sad state of affairs. And I think John, you kind of hit the nail on the head for me, at least. Doing right by somebody. Budgets may come and go, and visions may change in direction. That's perfectly fine. But I think, like, not necessarily setting everybody up for success, but when you have somebody who has done as much as Barroi has done for that team and that org, you'd think you'd give them a little bit more of a not leeway, not packet, like not asking for a bunch of like fanfare, and it's not my place to ask for anything, but yeah, just proper attention. Yeah.
By the way, for those of you who maybe you've just started watching Overwatch League, you aren't totally familiar with like why, Barroi's done so much for the thing. So Barroi set up and basically single-handedly ran the back end of Winston's lab, which is probably something that if you've started following Overwatch in the last 2 years, you probably have never come across it unless you've come through some like old archived Reddit threads and stuff. But what Barroi set up essentially was like the first real statistical database for Overwatch League that actually used stats that didn't just come from the API, which, the API at the time didn't even affect custom games. You only got ladder things and heroes from
nothing.
That.
Right? He had to use image recognition in order to get that information.
Yeah, literally ran it through AI and image recognition to get all this stuff. And he's actually done the same thing with CypherCam for Valorant. I don't know how much that's being updated or used anymore, but I know it's set up and technically working for that. If there's, two people who have, kind of had a real impact on analyzing with numbers in Overwatch, there's really only two names. It's Captain Planet and Barroi, and I think you'd be hard pressed to put one over the other for a lot of different reasons. But the impact that Barroi has had and how we understand the game at a statistical level, I believe Barroi was one of the first ones to bring in first deaths, wasn't he? First death win percentage.
First kill. Yeah.
First kill. Yeah.
Yep.
So, like some of those key stats now that we rely on and the Overwatch League uses are stuff that were championed by Barroi, and the code that he wrote and the interface that he created for us to know and understand and analyze that.
Yeah.
So it's a huge deal, and for him to not be anywhere right now, for me, I'm just kind of, it sucks because it's not just like Toronto losing Barroi potentially. Obviously that happens.
Yeah.
It's what does he do next? Does he stay in Overwatch? Where does he go? Does he go to Valorant with Cypher Cam and go, do what the next thing is? I don't know how many. You can't lose a Barroi. You just you can't afford to lose that in your community, period.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people aren't going to get it because they don't have a million subs or have these, insane sponsors or whatever else, or, win awards for shoutcasting. We have a lot of those and they're great. And I think it would suck if we lost any of those people either.
Sure.
But Barroi is one of those people who could go quietly, never be felt immediately, and the game can essentially never be the same. So I'm livid about it. Homebound drink. I'm really pissed about it. But that's just me, and I have a bias.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. I think that's exactly who Barroi is, and also basically like the father of statistics in Overwatch, right?
I think so.
Like a lot of the stuff we use right now, I even would have hope that we would find, because honestly, at the moment, I'm a little bit. I get that it's interesting. I get that it's something to talk about, and you can measure against. Not well, but these bots on Reddit, for instance, that people are using to do like basic comparisons is kind of rough. I also appreciate that it's really hard to have meaningful statistics during hero polls. But yeah, I think someone like him would help in the right position. At the same time, you got to wonder if like that talent is not just going to be lost on us again. We once again, like that's just what we do apparently in Overwatch. We just let entertaining, skilled, knowledgeable workhorses leave the scene in droves, and we have no sticky tape to keep them around. I don't know. It just keeps happening.
Yep. The only kind of solace that I have is that he's an intelligent man enough to literally go wherever he wants and find success in droves. If it isn't here, he'll find a space. He'll make a space. He'll do what needs to be done to land somewhere else. And
that's
incredibly
Barroi doesn't need Overwatch nearly as much as Overwatch needs Barroi.
No. Yes. No. This man is the epitome of. There's this book. It's basically my favorite book. It's called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I really recommend everyone at different stages in their life when they read it.
This guy.
And oh yeah, nice. You got it. And
sorry, I didn't have
the first part.
Show it again.
It's backwards, but
okay.
Right. So basically, it's about. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's about a guy that's been raised by a religious type father, and he learns a lot and goes that path at the start of his life as well. And he has these three guiding principles at the start of the book, which is I think
never take your helmet off.
No running with forks.
It's never take your helmet off. You must restore the armor to the previous Mandalorian, and what else? You're describing the Mandalorian, right? That was the book?
I'm sorry. No. But fair enough. But I read it in German, of course, because it's a German author. But I think it translates to maybe Joe. How far along are you? Have you read it yet?
I finished it months ago.
Yeah. Okay, so it's I can wait, I can fast, I can think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Barroi in a nutshell. So basically, I can think, dude, of course, mega intelligent, able, basically self-taught master programmer. I can wait. He like people don't understand. Like this guy is a weird, just like one of one type of
He really
guy,
is.
right? Like
God bless him.
he does things that nobody else does. He just like flies to, like, it's just like, I'd like to learn Japanese.
Oh,
That means I'm sitting on a plane, just like to Japan. Like, yeah, I don't have a hotel booked really, but let's see where life leads me. And then he can fast. Like he can live on very little resources, has done it during the Winston Slept years. So he's the epitome of that type of character to me, where it's just like, yes, I know that this really sucks for him, but I also know that this guy probably like spent like $12 during his Overwatch League career and just has the rest of his salary, and
nice
probably can probably sustain himself for a good while until his next genius move. So
he did need to call me to get help with how to open an American walk
that story
in San Diego.
We have that recorded. Yeah, that's saved for posterity.
Yeah, man, that was so
amazing.
funny. That was back
It's
in
amazing.
the Overwatch League daily days. He goes, "You're the
So
only." It was back. I was literally editing the show at 3 a.m. He goes, "You're the only friend in America right now that's up. Can you help me?" I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I can't get into the door to my. I think it was a friend's place or something." He goes, "I put the key in," and I was like, are the keys different? Just, I don't know. You got to jiggle, try lifting the door. I don't know. We ended up getting in, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
But
no, and it was scary, right? Wasn't he chased
some,
by
weird homeless man on a bike?
it was a
Chasing
lot
him.
of weird stuff. He
Yeah.
did not have a great. That was not a great
No.
24 hours for him.
No, but he just has a ton of these stories. He just like
He does.
He just
really
stuff.
does.
I mean, just
I
look
don't
at
know if he
the-
knows what fear is. I really don't. I don't think he
I don't
does.
think so.
dude recorded himself in a cheerleader outfit just for our stupid little show.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hey, Barroi, can you hold this up for a picture that I can show everybody?" He goes, "I'll do you one better." Comes back the next day with a 4-minute edited video.
Scooter tuning. I forgot about that. Oh no.
Oh man, scooter tuning was.
Dude,
Yeah.
Corona needs to fucking quit.
Yeah, this man needs to go out and live his life again.
Yeah. Anyways, that's our ode to Barroi, if you will. Hopefully he stays in Overwatch. Hopefully we have him on the show many more times.
Yes. Cheers to that.
Billionaire by 35, Barroi. Okay, so Barroi's out. We should probably just talk about Toronto in general, huh? Because Toronto has, I think, made the most significant, or not the most significant, since I've been gone. This is one of the teams that has changed the most. With that, I mean, we finally know where Na1st is.
Yeah, and that as bizarre as it is,
make any sense to me.
I kind of it's not like a weird signing. It's more of just like, what was Philly up to and like why did they let him go? Because for all like intents and purposes, I figured that he was going to be like their next project. Where like he's locked down in Funi in T1, they bring him up, he's very useful for them. You know, this next wave of talent coming into the team, and then they let him go to Toronto, which is, I would hope, or at least imagine that they, got something for that. But it's more of kind of like weird shifty eyes at Philly, where it's just like, huh? Why? It's so bizarre. And yeah, I think it's a great signing for Defiant. Don't get me wrong.
Isu, Na1st, Sato.
Yeah, I think this. I really, as much as I'm slightly begrudged to say, I think like Toronto is very, very undervalued. I think this team's actually going to do, and I feel like I say this about Toronto almost every year. They look like they should do well on paper, like very well. This team's quite stacked. Na1st is just kind of like the cherry on the top of the cake. This team's very good. I'm excited to see what this rookie backline looks like. I've been high on Sato for a while now. Isu, I don't think I need to really kind of justify high expectations after what we saw with Philly last year. Michelle, as bizarre as it was that we didn't see him much on Seoul, I definitely think is a player that can do well. I think people for his entire career have underrated Logic's. Beast is the one that I'm like, I'm not mad about you being in the league. I'm more mad that I can't see you like in a starting position, because I do want like to have a better understanding of like what people see.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you really quick. Yiska disconnected, by the way, chat. So don't start spamming how you can't see Yiska. We know.
He'll be back.
So you want to see Beast?
I'd like to see Beast start somewhere. The rumor,
pick an academy team, man. I agree.
Yeah, academy teams. I wish that was like a viable option. Team. They're just never like managed properly, and barring a few exceptions being like Hurricane and some select few in the past, but I don't know. I did all like in general though. I'm very excited to see Toronto play. I think this team's going to do really good things, and is kind of a pillar to this idea that there's going to be so many competitive teams. You look at Toronto across like their franchise history as a whole, this isn't a team that you think is going to do incredibly well. And then you look at some of the names that they signed, and you don't necessarily have to be the biggest Sato fan. You don't have to be the biggest Hisu fan, but you can't really ignore what they've been doing and what they've done in the past. You can be excited for the rookie, talent coming in. Nice as somebody who has been kind of tracked and has been projected to be, a potential star in this game. And now he's landing on a team that looks to be really, really solid. So this isn't a question of Sato not having any more help on Philly. Same thing goes with Hisu. Michelle finally, hopefully can kind of land and stick the mat here and find a starting position and get in there and play well. And we've seen him do incredibly well in the past. This team has all the metrics of success kind of pointing, up in the green. And it's, okay, now when are we actually going to move? When is this team going to find some success? Because again, I feel like I say this every year where it's like, oh, well, they have this piece and oh, Surefour and oh, these O2 players from season 1. And then it all goes kaput. It's like, okay, well, if it's not the coaching staff, because that constantly changes, if it's not the players, because they constantly change, who is it? That's where I have to kind of file it down to, because the entire roster changes, even the support staff. So where is this going wrong? I can't imagine that it's completely circumstantial every single season for 4 seasons. 3 seasons, I guess, because they were an expansion team.
Yeah, I look at the individual players in each role, I'm like, yep, that's good. Yep, that's good. Yep, that's good. Yep, that's good. But I pretty much can do that for 16 out of the 20 teams.
100%.
And I think that this organization has shown more than a few times that they haven't been able to do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily lend any credibility to the idea that all of a sudden they can do more with more.
100%.
And that's where, like, I think right now, if you're like, John, you have to, rank Toronto right now. They're not a playoff team for me. I don't even know if they're a bubble team. I think they're one of the few teams that sits right below that bubble. It just is kind of overall disappointing. And that sucks because I see Hisu, I see Nice, and I see Sato, and I see Michelle, and I see Aztac, and I see Ansun J, and I go, crap, these guys, deserve playoff berths for sure. Like every single one of them. But there's just, I think that there's a lot going on there.
I 100% agree. Now here's the kind of 8-head take. If Philly moves, and we know that to be true, that Philly is going to be playing the 2021 season in Asia. If the Atlantic Conference starts to pare down in terms of strength, do you think that Toronto could move up at least divisionally?
I think Yiska overall couldn't tell a potato from a grape.
Oh, that's true.
What's up?
Yeah. No, sorry, my internet kind of went out.
You're okay. So Joe, you were asking. Since Yiska's here, even though you're asking me, we'll just repeat it. So he's in on the conversation.
So we were kind of looking at Toronto as a whole. It's quick evaluation of the roster, and John had brought up that like I struggle with the overall resume that they show, and they really can't do more with less, and I can't really give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're going to do more with more. So I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team. And to that I said, if we take into consideration that Philly is moving to Asia in 2021 to play the whole season in Asia from South Korea, does that move Toronto up in your summation divisionally in the Atlantic region, or at least in the western half of the Overwatch League?
I mean, they better at this point,
right?
Like I don't buy that 2-year plan, what they're selling us one bit. Like, that just doesn't make sense based on the market moves they've done right now. What's the 2-year thing? That you're going to fire Logix and Beast in the second year and get 2 more of the same player type in? Like, how is that? Get out. Generally speaking, I think they should be having more success, most definitely.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if you don't have success with this, then it is nobody ever on the ground floor of this organization, but actually in the upper offices that facilitate a competitive environment that isn't conclusive of good Overwatch play. That's just how it is. The first roster was already, like, look at the first roster. Like, legitimately, a lot of these players are really good still.
Mm-hmm.
Yakpang is coming back. Stella looked pretty good. I'm 37 is somehow back in the Overwatch League. Neko was a main support that could have played now as a coach. I think he could have made it back into Overwatch League given the main support. So Ivy is still... What are you... Like... Okay, so you bump one roster, right? The next year, like, Logix is not a problem for you. Like, a lot of your previous guys find jobs elsewhere. We'll see what kind of success looks like there. I don't know, dude. Like, if you don't bomb it out of the park at this point, like, I'm talking top 5 NA, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there in your organization that causes these problems?
Third time's the charm again. Everything continues to change with this team. The coaches change almost mid-season. The last 2 seasons, the players change mid-season.
I need tomato juice right now.
Everything. I love how he just has it on.
It's multivitamin.
Yeah. Again. Okay. Geriatric. Anywho,
need a
I don't know.
Now.
The team.
Let me get my vitamins, dude.
Take some vitamins.
Take a pill.
You don't have to chug V8.
Yeah,
you get all those vitamins
entire
in just
bottle
one
of vitamins.
pill. It's the same thing.
Act your age and have a multivitamin, okay?
This has way more sugar and calories. I don't know why you would ever take a pill instead.
Yeah, you're right.
Just get it over with, man. Just get it over with.
I don't know
all
why,
that
but
to say what?
I'm just waiting for you to start talking about Overwatch again so I can fall into your word once again.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
There you go.
No, all that to say that I think we all pretty much agree that Toronto needs to actually show up this year. And this is a roster that should show up. So
I am not happy about it.
Yeah.
Toronto, I don't want you to win this year, man. I'm sorry. I just don't want you to. I just don't want you to win this year. I am completely biased in it. I don't care. You got rid of somebody who I consider a friend. Therefore, number one, all my analysis on any team is basically invalid based on me being the one analyzing, first of all. Second of all, with Barroi being, just if anything I say about Toronto, just know it's because I want them to lose for the next season. Just if you're a Toronto fan, I can be
everything.
I can be the Green Bay Packers to your Minnesota Vikings, baby. You could just hate me. You can rip me off. Call me Toronto, Defiant, whatever. Hater for no reason. There is a reason. I've told you the reason.
But maybe John, you're just speaking the truth, because now there are no Panda Man's feelings to hurt about his team. I'm telling you this. Like a lot of people like Barroi in Overwatch. I think that a lot of barriers were kept together by Barroi.
Certainly.
You know what? I don't even care. I hope you win one game.
Oh.
I hope you make Shanghai's 0-40 stretch look like a preseason scramble. I hope that when people look at the worst dynasties of all time and they look at it like, well, obviously that's not Shanghai anymore. That's not Florida anymore. Let's start talking about the Defiant. That's what I want for you.
Yeah. I'm not going to
but enjoy your
out loud.
cool jerseys though. Because man, they're cool. They look great.
Yeah.
You guys look so great cheering for a team that I hate. Whoo.
There you go.
It's true.
There you go.
Are we just gonna cut that? Are we gonna cut the last? We can just cut the last 5
No,
minutes, right?
keep it. I like it. Bring the heat.
No, I gotta not talk about Toronto for a while until I get. To be fair, like I kind of get it from that point of view. As I think that move makes a lot of sense in October.
In a business sense. Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it makes business sense whenever they want. It just makes you really trashy.
Yes.
It doesn't make
you have to
good
handle
personal
it
sense. It doesn't make good
100%.
HR sense. It doesn't make good, hey, coaches, come here, coach for our organization. By the way, always have a contingency plan and be 3 months ahead of us because sometimes we don't know when we're going to fire you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be an 0-80 team.
0-80.
Thing is, I think, like, okay, there's theoretically other ways where they could have handled this. They could have promoted Barroi to GM. Do you guys see a guy like Barroi be GM? I don't think that works. I think he can do the tasks. I don't think he can lie as well as you would need to be able to in order to be a general manager.
Yeah, that kind of gets, somebody said it earlier, where like Barroi's kind of the Woz to like the Apple and Steve Jobs. Like in the same, like Woz could have never been the CEO of Apple. Right. Sorry, like Barroi, probably more valuable.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so to bring it back on the team, I think Na1st is a bit of a gamble.
Think so?
That's a hot take. I mean, it's not really a hot take. I mean, anytime you bring somebody in new to graduate from tier 2 to the Overwatch League class, there's always that there. But it felt to me that Na1st was one of the safer picks.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I think it's also obvious because there's a previous connection with the Fusion guys as well as Glitch from Funi days. I also think he hasn't been this good in T1.
Listen, that team,
right?
Bless their hearts. They tried real hard.
I know.
Not good. That team sucked.
I know. Yeah.
Look no farther than the captain, Dyson Airblade himself, leading the charge in the front office. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. Can't expect too terribly much.
I'm just saying, whatever T1 touches kind of turns to dust. Like he like T1 is reverse Captain. How do you pronounce that? Midas. The guy that
Midas turns things to gold. Everything he touches.
Yes. Yeah. Joe Marsh is sort of like the opposite. Just like, whoops, that just turned to poop.
Might ass.
The SKTT1.
More like might
the
ass.
Best, most dominant team in League of Legends history. It's just how it go.
Oops.
Yeah, well.
You know who has the reverse Midas touch? Or the reverse, the double reverse, the actual golden touch. That's Albert Yav, the Florida Mayhem, Yiska.
There you go.
Should get
that's a team.
Designing
I wouldn't know. I just woke up to interview his players at 4 a.m. Yeah.
What I mean, talk a little bit more about this documentary that you guys put out with GG Recon. Obviously, probably one of the better pieces of content.
Best piece,
I'd say so.
Ever.
Period.
Ever.
This offseason, at least.
Besides all 154 episodes of Tactical Crouch.
True. One of the best.
154 episodes, then that, and then every Toronto Defiant game in the future. The very bottom. Very, very bottom. Stacking up the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this. First off, I'm proud of the product, of the final outcome. I think that we did pretty well there. I think the Mayhem were really accessible, did a lot for us in order to be able to do this. It was a ton of fun. There's unfortunately also a lot of great stuff that we, of course, couldn't include. So, for instance, the Albert interview was 40 minutes of interview. The Cookie interview was 40 minutes. OG was 20 minutes. Swingship was 25. So you can expect, like, of course, there's a lot of
editing,
good information still that couldn't make it in, right? I think that this team is really interesting in what they like. It's almost like a team that we don't really think about that much when we're talking about top teams, but we should. We absolutely should. I would have liked them to pick up a little bit more of an inspired pick than Checkmate, even though I did hear the name brought up in a lot of teams' Plan B.
Okay. So definitely is a name that got some looks.
Yes. I think, for instance, Glista would have been great for them as well. That would have been a nut signing, and I think that's also something. I mean, if the shot calls, that's just what is happening at the moment.
Have to say no to that.
Right. I like their entire new facelift. I like that they just like. From how I get Overwatch, I think they get it the most out of any team. Why? Because, like we've always preached on this podcast, bring in endemics that have had some success. Somehow make them believe they can't do it on their own, even though they very much can. Then put them under your umbrella and just have them create dope stuff. And almost everyone in that organization that is someone in this org now is endemic. Like that starts from social media with Thibbledork, that goes over to Swingchip as a translator. Albert came up as a player, analyst, assistant GM, GM. Yeah. I mean, okay, Cookie and whatever, right? Like, but this organization now gets it, and it's a complete turnaround from what they were. So that's really nice to see, and I think that's also worth celebrating, which was kind of the point of this. While at the same time saying, there's also this other guy that comes in, sort of has in a similar story to you guys, even though maybe the perception of his performance wasn't the same. Because I will tell you, like that's why we didn't force this learning to win again thing too much on OGE, because like the vibe I got from his answers was more like, I just think it's part of the process to do this. I just keep trucking on and trucking on and trucking on, and whatever comes my way, I will just get over it. Right. So that was also really interesting to see. To like, it's just different ways how people treat adversity. Some just push through, and some break and then reinvent themselves. Yep. Me personally, I'm definitely more a breaker. Like, I keep piling up my problems until it's too heavy. Then I break down a little bit, and then that allows me to change something about myself in a significant way as to overcome the issue. But I think the other way, just to truck on and get incrementally better, is also a fine choice. So it was really fun. It was really, like just what you learn about the process and everything. I will say, and I'm not sure if we want to go on this tangent, but content consumption in Overwatch problem. Like unless you're plat chat, it's probably not going to happen unless you have distribution channels secured on YouTube for you.
Sure.
It's unfortunate. Like it's just coming back to the realization that what people claim they want, and I would include myself. Like I've always brought up this type of argument, going, you don't actually really know what you want until you have it. And if you have it, you're not aware that you kind of like it very often, right? So True. I don't know. At this point, it's really more about like what is actually generating interest, right? So in that regard, it was a little disappointing for me. Not so much as like I tried. Well, most of the time, I'm intrinsically motivated, but it's of course like something where I also think it's just such a large amount of effort put into it, right?
For sure.
So yeah, no, I really enjoyed my time doing that one, and that is something. So I can't speak to but the general idea of trying to talk to people and get more transparency into Overwatch, that is something that we're going to do in 2021. And I'm going to start with that this week. I'm not sure if it's coming out this week, probably not, but probably the next one. So consider that the Christmas present I have for you guys.
Some juice. Everybody loves some Christmas juice. But no, even if, X amount of people watch it, it sounds like you're very proud of it. It's definitely worth being proud of. And this is kind of a watershed moment for most of the teams in the league to kind of like step up the announcements. The tweets and the cute pictures aren't cutting it anymore. We need to do more, and the Florida Mayhem are kind of spearheading that path and clearing the brush on that front, working with journalists, working with content creators to be able to not only have a bigger rollout, but a wider one as well. Different kind of content that, might not be necessarily suitable is a strong word, but it's better on other platforms than it is on yours, and this, that, the other thing. I think it's much more thought out than signing a roster, tweeting it out, and then not doing much else with it. Yeah. So yeah, props to them. I think they're killing it over there, and they deserve the success that they're undoubtedly going to achieve in 2021. So
yeah. Also, like I definitely agree with the notion of like I just don't agree with the idea of doing something that is hype creating, and just because it doesn't immediately generate the buzz, going away from it. I think it's not as much as a way of finding the gold mine or like the vein in the ground. It's much more to, like sow the ground and just like work it. So like this is an established, like everyone should be doing what the Florida Mayhem has done. Every GM should be talking like Albert and Pre have. And even if you get 50 views on your stuff, that doesn't mean that it isn't important content and effort towards like a better entertainment product that should be going out. People need to learn again that there is interesting content out there. They're not currently seeking it out. The distribution channels that people have for interesting content, they are kind of like, okay, I'm going to use that. Like mycelic networks, they are kind of dried up, right? Like you had a way to communicate with an audience sort of in season 1 based on the buzz, and then things got boring. And then instead of making it more interesting, teams said, well, nobody's really looking, so I guess that's not wanted. And the problem is at some point you keep cutting so much that you kind of must come to the conclusion that this league is not wanted. That can't be the conclusion, right?
Yep.
Like you have to counteract and create the excitement from the ground up. Just teaching fans once again that there is quality to content out there and that it is coming from various sources, not just chasing the algorithmic numbers that like your bottom line is giving you, but you got to build it from the ground up again.
I think there's a beautiful metaphor that you keep dancing around, and that's the lessons and virtues taught through the vehicle of a pop quiz. You always need to be prepared because you don't know when the teacher is going to come out and say, here's Overwatch 2. Do you have your content team build up? Do you have a correct vision? Do you have these platforms kind of chock full with content? No, you don't. So you're going to fail. That's not going to be good for anybody. So build it now. Work out the kinks now while nobody's looking, while the teachers aren't testing you. But then when the shit hits the fan, proverbially, you'll have something to show for it.
Dude, like we used to be pretty good at that. I don't think we really appreciate how good season 1 was in that regard. Like someone on Reddit posted the Jehong mini doc that Overwatch released, man. I forgot how good that thing is. It does so many things so well. Like things that I want to incorporate in whatever like content. But like they have the like Jehong's face as the center of the action. Almost no body language, just like the face.
Just him.
You see the full facial progression of him pretty much talking about the redemption arc story of his own career, of going to sudden attack. Was it sudden attack? Counter-Strike, sudden attack. Then going to the military, thinking it's over, coming back, feeling dizzy, playing Overwatch. Anna comes out, everything changes. He becomes the dominator of Overwatch, pre-Overwatch League, right?
Yep.
Like, and it's all like first-person storytelling, like nice elements here and there. You see the full emotion, and this thing that, dude, that is a gut punch of content. I really wish, like, I understand that at this point, I think I looked at it, it had 26,000 views. That's not a ton for a full production from an official leak source, right? But that is the type of content that we can now enjoy once again. So like the bulge of the content won't just come like the first week that you release it, but over the years, once again and again.
Yeah.
It will keep trickling. And it is like it. If someone, think of it this way, it's an investment. If I watch this as a new fan, there's a little chip that gets put on my soul that or like a little chip is thrown of my emotional investment. It's thrown into the pot. And every time you release a video like that, I keep chipping into the pot. Oh no, I'm hard committed at this point. I don't like I got finite chips, and there's already 200 chips in this Overwatch League pot. I think I might stick around, guys. And that's how you grind like meaningful viewership, people that are lifers or people that really are behind this, right? And like loyal fandom and. Like it is a grind. It absolutely is a grind. And that is the type of content that facilitates that. And I think by not producing it, if anything, yes, I also understand the business point, because that is like you put money in and the immediate return of that is not that high. Or you haven't also built the base yet, right? Or your
base is currently being undermined by a global pandemic.
You got to believe in your product to be able to be like just like raise up from the ground floor and not be an immediate success. You need to incrementally get people invested, right?
Yep. So,
man, I would love to have more of these pieces of like, dude, like that. It's such good content. I don't know. Like at the time, I didn't even watch it. I think
it was kind of quiet to come out, but yeah. They've got a couple like just bangers that they've nailed and have gone over as well as every other video, kind of just milk toasty, and nobody really watches it, nobody really talks about it. But they've got some gems in there for sure that they should be able to kind of look at and see the success and where else it can find success. You know, this is an esport that kind of built and cut its teeth in like heavy fandom and like very dedicated fan groups. You look at, you know, the South Korean, you know, Runaway fans and the Lutakai fans, and you look at, you know, how fervent people were about Team Envious, and Rogue had, you know, the French crowd, you know, captivated and whatnot. It's about the players. It's always been about the players. So why aren't we highlighting them? Why aren't we putting the camera in front of their faces? Why is that so difficult for us still in 2021?
And that's the thing, dude. Like, that once again comes back to the point of, like, I had a tweet about this recently. Like, if you don't have long-term player careers, you don't have long-term fandom. And I understand that this isn't necessarily true in every sport in the world. It's not true for college football, of course, because players keep changing there, and your affiliations are there because you probably either studied there or were born in that city or whatever, right?
Somehow inundated, yeah.
That is that much weaker in esports, that force. I believe that to be true. I think also because, like, our range of the teams, that, like, just because I'm European doesn't necessarily mean I want to celebrate London. Like, that's not how it works. Yeah. Just because I'm on the same, like, landmass, like,
I mean, you can't, you know, ignore the people who do think that way, though.
Right.
I think there is something like charming about that, but
sure,
that's only one facet, like you're saying.
Yes, that's only one facet, and it's like this process, like, it is best facilitated and very likely initially facilitated, and even if not, definitely in 2020 only facilitated by cult of personality. For the same reason that Cristiano Ronaldo is a twice as big brand as Real Madrid is. Same reason that's also true with Messi in Barcelona, or Neymar, or whoever the big football stars are. That for the same reason, you need to attach personalities to your league. I don't think it even matters that much if they stay on the same team. People need to be able to follow stories or teams, but it's infinitely harder to form allegiances to abstract concepts like a team or like a city than it is to a face of a brand. Look at the successful brands. Either you're like someone like Fnatic that has grinded out their esports reputation for like 20 years now, and even those do not have the success that someone like G2 has, sure, where there's very clearly a personality at the top of that brands, and hence why they're growing. Look at TSMs and other. That entire brand is built on personality.
That's just personality, yeah.
It starts with like the initial bunch with Reggie himself being a personality, taking a backseat, then like things cycle through. It's Odd1, then it's Dyrus, then it's Bjergsen, and it keeps cycling. But you got the personalities. Like, that's the reason why people cheer TSM, because you're attaching interesting people to your brand. You cannot every year just like get rid of the entire people and throw them in another ecosystem. Like, absolutely, this is the core question. I understand that there are other types of fandom and everything, and it's fine. But why is it that in Overwatch we have such an issue to keep the skilled, the knowledgeable, the entertaining around year after year?
I mean, you know why. The game doesn't know what it wants to be. But it's so deep rooted. I think it'd be a Herculean effort to completely like unroot that. It needs to be. I've talked about it more times than I can count, but I don't know how you fix it. It's at a developmental level. This is a game that literally was birthed from the corpse of another game. So like, even through its inception, it didn't know what it was supposed to be. Sure. And now we're getting to the question, it's growing up and hitting puberty. It's like, okay, well, what are we? What am I? How does this all work? Because we've never actually asked that question before, at least at the developmental level. And it is beautiful, and I it probably needs to be talked about at some point in the near future. I still want to give credit where credit's due and completely not somehow go too far off tangent with the Florida Mayhem, because they are kind of leading that charge and they are doing good work in that space, and they're going to be successful, I think, in the long run. I think this season they're going to find success with this roster. They're going to create content around that, and I think by the end of this season, you're going to have a series of content. If I had to guess, the Mayhem are going to be looked at in a much more different light and much more applauded in that way. With everything that they do, with supporting tier 2, Albert talking about possibly getting back into tier 2 when it's right for him, doing this document with, documentary with GG Recon, announcing these videos in the way that they do, doing these shows. They're just doing it better than almost anybody else. I truly believe that, and I think they're going to reap the benefits of that by the end of this year. So yeah. As screwy as Overwatch is, there's at least somebody doing it right.
Yeah. No. Big fan of the general strategy that they've, like, it's such a turnaround if you remember what we thought of the Florida Mayhem, right? And I'll straight up tell you, Shanghai was
similar.
Shanghai was the first wave of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Florida was the second wave of redemption. There's a third wave coming, and it might be 2 teams. And I think both of them have a pretty equal chances. But of course, it's Dallas Fuel and the Washington Justice.
Yep.
That could be the third wave of redemption arcs and coming into season 4.
Has there ever been like a 2-year like really bottom team, or 3-year rather? It always seems like teams kind of suck for 2 years and then they like big bounce back. Is Dallas like the third, like the longest running like poop team?
Houston.
Yeah, kind of.
And I mean, poop is kind of relative, right? Because we haven't had any team that has been consistently on the bottom. We almost had Shanghai. We almost had Boston. Take out season 1 Boston.
Oh yeah, you might have just that might just be it.
Take out season 1. So we've had teams that have performed really poorly for 2 seasons. We've only had 3 seasons in total. For ones that have all performed bottom 3 for all 3 seasons, not an expansion team, I don't like that. Boston's the closest one, but I mean, they also had a perfect stage in that season.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
There's a few cases that need to be fixed up, but definitely improving year by year. Again, I want to really come into the season on a high note, because this season looks so competitive. It's not funny. You look at this Florida Mayhem squad, you look at how good it looks. Some of the fun storylines, like who's checkmate, we don't really know him. What kind of star potential does this rookie DPS have? You look at the team, you're like, oh yeah, good team. And then you look at the rest of these teams. You look at the scope of the field, and you're like, whoa, okay, I don't even know if this team's going to be even that good. It should be. But there's some contenders out there that it's just like, this could get real messy. This is going to get real scrappy in that mid pack, and even maybe in the top end. Who knows? Maybe we're coming into the expectations that Shock and all these teams that were good for so long are going to continue to be so great. Odds on, it's probably going to be, but Overwatch is to double back to what I said. We don't know what's coming with this game. We don't know what Overwatch 2 brings. Things can change. Narratives they're not persistent in this game whatsoever. And it's great when they are persistent, because that's something we can attach to, and that's something that you can kind of sell people on. But if there's ever a fire, an inferno, a crucible to go through, it's Overwatch with in regards to narrative. So props to Florida in that regard. Final thoughts, I guess, on that, because we did kind of bring up the B word, and soon is itching to probably be talked about. So
let's do it.
It's such a weird signing. Anybody like
weird.
just like, huh? Who?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not saying who. They're saying huh
They're saying soon.
and why.
Yeah.
Censored.
Stop booing him. Stop booing him.
I think is he the only player that has like a chant like this?
Probably.
You know, like, okay, so in football stadiums, at least in German football, every once in a while, a player of a team will be given the description of Fußballgott, which is like football god. And whenever the numbers are red, then that person will just get a different, entrance celebration. And I feel like Soon is pretty much the only one that has one in Overwatch League.
Yeah, that I can think of that like the community and the fans have like rallied around in that like collective of a way, where it's not just like a small crowd of like very passionate fans. No, it's just kind of everybody. You might not even be a fan of Soon, but you kind of just cheer Soon in the way that everybody else does, and it's like this collective thing. And you just cheer him on. I want him to kind of be on that Mount Rushmore, and he should be, and he probably is. But God, is this move bizarre?
Yeah.
Like, is this supposed to be like the crowning achievement of the Boston Uprising and the reason why they're going to be good?
Yeah.
The reason why they're going to be marketable?
I mean, you can't deny that. He's going to sell some jerseys, and they're going to be Boston ones, which is going to be a little weird, but
yeah,
it is bizarre. It is very, very strange. I hope they do well. I'm so over just pooping on Boston constantly.
There's always there's always a factor here, I think, that we never know about, and that's how much did they pay.
Sure.
Assuming Soon isn't a league minimum drawing, like, yeah, make league minimum to play for, arguably the worst franchise that we've seen in Overwatch League. I don't know how hungry he is to, like, I'll do anything to stay in the Overwatch League versus Boston made him a good deal. I don't like, we're obviously speculating on a lot of that point. But Soon does bring a couple of pros to your 2021 Overwatch League roster, right? He's not a bad player.
No,
he's not a bad player at all. He's a startable player. Even now, again, compared to I'm 37. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know as much about that and where their hero pools overlap. So I'm sure someone could educate me on that there. But I don't think it's a player who A, doesn't ever play. B, ever since season 1, and I'm trying to make sure that ever since season 1, the Boston Uprising haven't really had a really marketable Western player.
Yeah.
I'm trying to test that against my knowledge because normally I have Wikipedia open for this.
I think the only one was probably like maybe Note, and my memory is even kind of like
Note, and so there was the Note, and who did Note play with? You had Note, you had the tank duo.
Note and Gamsu
and Note, like you had a little bit there, but that never really sparked anything.
Not super forward facing either.
Huge. And then you had also the player that we won't name on the show, who was a big part of that as well. But since then, they haven't had a really marketable Western player. And for us fan of esports, I think a lot of us don't care. Jerry fit the bill for us last season, and Myungbong will fit it for us this season. Fine. But having that marketable Western player, I think, is relatively...
It's going to do wonders.
It's going to be good for them. And I think this doesn't, like, boost them in my power rankings at all. I don't all of a sudden go, all right, now we're talking top 10 Uprising.
Yeah.
This is just, sure. Why not? Let's see what else you got.
John, is there a rubber band with the Boston Uprising if they continue to be the Boston Uprising, if they continue to be real hot dog piss of a team, right? And they in the community's eyes ruin Soon's career. Is there a rubber band to this where it's like, yay, Soon has a home, and then by the end of the season we're like, oh, we're so mad at you, Huck, you ruined Soon?
Can I answer this?
I mean,
Go
sure.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think you're the like. I'd like to hear first what you think from the marketing perspective, because I want to mostly weigh in competitively.
If I'm understanding your question correctly, it's like, okay, he goes to Boston. Boston sucks. Soon doesn't win.
Right.
Does he play often?
Let's say like 50% of the time.
50%
Let's say
of the
like
time?
Tracer, pops in every once in a while and he's the starter in that.
Do they make content around him?
Probably.
Boston has for me, they're very hit and miss on content. They do great stuff like spilling the tea, which I think has been really good, and they've had some other lackluster announcements. So like they're a little hit and miss for me here. So you're saying if Boston does well, does it make the community? Does Soon lose his polish, or does Boston get blamed for Soon being on a losing team? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, the former. I think the stocks on Boston are up because they've signed like a very beloved Western player that has a lot of history. Does that go down almost doubly so if they do not perform well with the vehicle that they've somehow ruined Soon, or didn't play him enough, or wasted his time, things of that nature, where you rubber band backwards and forwards constantly if you're just this criminally underperforming or serially underperforming team.
Do you think that it ruined his reputation in season 2 with Paris?
No.
They finished 14th.
Yeah.
And they were an all French team.
And I'm not sold on
an all
either
French
way.
team, but they were the European super team, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not something I completely believe, just kind of a thought.
I love the question you're posing. I think it's an important one, is how much do players affect the perception of the brand, and how much does the brand affect the perception of the players?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you kind of come out with, NYXL. If a team, NYXL, if a player comes in like Soon on NYXL, they're not disliking NYXL for Soon not performing well, because NYXL is seen as a pretty kind of pristine, untouchable organization. Again, off the cuff example.
Sure.
Boston Uprising are basically the anti-NYXL. You bring Soon on there, and it kind of just goes like, would I rather cheer for Soon or would I rather cheer for Boston? And I think that there's a lot of people who would rather cheer for Soon.
I think so too.
And so
that's what kind of has me scared.
To your point, Boston. The thing is, though, is like, what is worse? Like, what does worse look like for Boston? Like, what does worse look like from a community perspective? What do you have to lose by bringing a player on that has some of that marketing value that you then don't capitalize on, versus what do you have to gain? I think there's a lot more upsides than downsides. And at this point, like, I feel like you're riding the bottom a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Sorry, Boston fans. I know I'm going to get murdered in your Discord for saying that, because there's a lot of great Boston fans and they love their Boston Uprising. They want them to do well. I want Boston to do well.
Nobody wants Boston to be bad. We don't want bad teams. Don't get me wrong, but got to call a spade sometimes. And Boston kind of looks a little turdy as of late. Now the season could look different.
Yeah, there's a lot of promising stuff
player
here, and we're not talking about what does this roster look like now in the Grim. Like, we're purely just talking about the
speculative,
the Soon variable. And so that perspective, Boston comes in, they don't do well. I think that they are much quicker to defend the players than they are to defend the organization. Whereas, I think like NYXL or what's another good example of a team that people are more quickly to defend the organization than the players. I would have said like season 2 Dallas maybe.
Dallas is an interesting one.
It's but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say.
Kinda.
There's some people who are just like, nah, man, NYXL. Can't cut it on NYXL. See you next season, kind of stuff. Boston is not there.
Yeah, it's severely the opposite direction. Yeah, it's they're an interesting one. I really don't know how to feel about this roster.
Go ahead, Yiska. I want to hear your thoughts on this now.
I think the soon pickup has to be seen in the context of what other offers that likely were. But let's be honest, I don't think Soon had free choice, right? Like that's likely to be the case, that the amount of, and that's not to say it was his only offer, or that I know even, but I think that also kind of needs to be seen in that context of that news. So whatever happens with Soon after the season could have happened this season already, meaning retirement, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to accurately contextualize it now, because I know like bashing Boston is sort of like the thing that we do, but I also think Boston has done a lot to turn their brand around, has hired people, has done right by people. And I think people just need to be judged by their most recent action. And your prior needs to recheck constantly what people are doing. And for that reason, I don't know, it's just, I think giving Soon an opportunity there. This team now gives me a little bit of Boston season 1 vibes in that sense. Not necessarily having like this old veteran Soon, but like this hybrid roster and like some daring pickups.
Yeah.
Also the rumored players will significantly elevate if they were to be signed.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Right, yes. Minus the Krusty part. But I think Laurie really bad wants to be Krusty. So we'll see where this leads. It's interesting. Like, in my mind, they are swimming above the poop tier. It's probably going to be where they will sit, right? Just because the league is so competitive. But we will definitely have one of the teams we think very well of probably struggle. It's probably going to be more than one. And I think that Boston will also be able to get ahead of them. Now, if they perform any better than those expectations, that's instantly a big story, right? Like it will be very hard to put them anywhere significantly outside the bottom 5. I don't think that's realistic. But if they actually were to achieve that when everything is said and done, then hats off. They've once again seen something that we didn't, like they did in season 1. And then we can once again have a story, right?
You know what? I want to agree with you so bad, but until they actually maintain that and they keep the system and they keep the players that got them there, then I can't in good faith say that.
Yes.
This team might be good for a stage, and then the following stage have a new roster, having sold it all on the Boston Bazaar. Right? Like, until that changes, I don't think this team changes. So I need to see this team by the end of the season, coming into the 2022 season, continue to be competitive, continue to kind of compete in the offseason market and want to be competitive instead of just throwing away their talent. Because you had the best coach in the league on your team and you squandered it. You had Striker, who's going on to be one of the best players in the world, and a legend of the game, and you squandered it. You've had good players enter this team, and you cannot hold on to them. Why is that?
I don't like the term squandered. I like the term that they sold him. They got rid of him. They misjudged the situation and thought that he was less of a factor than he was. But when he was there, there was nothing. I don't think that there was anything really squandered about that opportunity. I think
100%. Like they definitely got that, the value,
especially given the drama 100%. In stage 2. I think they got about as much as you would expect out of the one of the best coaches, not only in Overwatch but in esports.
Big agree.
So yeah, sorry, that was my only thing. Squandered was
I think that is apt, because that sounds like they didn't know what they had, and I think it's definitely hard to sell them that short. But hopefully the rest of the point kind of still made sense, where they bring in good talent, they have good talent, and then somehow it just always just doesn't go up in smoke, but it is exported, let's say. And I kind of am just over that.
Which was a celebrated strategy early on. Celebrated.
Yeah.
What an amazing idea. What a team over here playing traditional esports while everyone else is still trying to get their G Fuel sponsorships and their gaming chairs all lined up. These guys are building a dynasty that can feed itself. They can develop talent and ship that talent off to continue to. We celebrated that after season 1. We celebrated that halfway through season 2. And then we go, this doesn't work. And then in season 3, we go, okay, this definitely doesn't work, at least at the level that we were celebrating it for before.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it again on the show. I think that Boston is pretty well off as far as franchises go. And I think that they're playing within the rules of kind of traditional sports management and how they manage budgets and players and organizations and how it is expected for the franchise to float itself. But that doesn't necessarily, lost my train of thought a little bit there, but it doesn't necessarily make them a winning team or a top franchise.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with looking at the narrative kind of switch up. And it was always, at least in season 1, I remember it being very much like, okay, they're, this is a long game. They're coming in, they're trying to find their guy, very much kind of that Patriot way, even though please correct me if I'm wrong in that way. Football fans, American football fans, that is, all you hand egg fans, where, you have the Patriots coming in, they maybe go through a ton of iteration. They find their rock and they build off of that and they become this dynasty. That's what at least was kind of positioned to be the uprising story. And it looked to be very, very similar in that way, where you come in, you're trying to find what works, you're exporting players and making financial success, as the chat has aptly put it. But we haven't seen the fruits of that labor, if that was a labor at all, right? Maybe this is the season. Maybe this is the season where they flip the switch. They start to metabolize and build up a sizable and competitive roster based on the work that they've done in the past. Maybe that's what we're seeing right here. But until the pen hits the paper in that way, I really have a hard time trusting in that sense, because it's always been, you get good players in and then they leave, get good players in, then you sell them, get good players in, and then they retire. It's just like, come on, Boston. I'm really over just pooping on you.
Boston, here's the good news that you have to look forward to in the 2021 season. You're going to be better than the Toronto Defiant. So there you go. You heard it here first. All right, we got to get out of here. This is fun. I missed you guys. This is a show. Sorry.
It was good.
Oh,
I enjoyed it. It was fun talk.
Oh, chat. I'm probably going to get murdered for my Defiant comments. Jeez. Anyways, hope you enjoyed our very fun, entertainment-centered podcast where we have fun and say things that are fun and are only meant to be here to entertain you. Big thank you to Ashador and Fussel Kafer for your resubs. Welcome back. Thanks so much for supporting the show. And a big thank you to our patron producers, Refine Bean, Ferdino, Prin, Battlecrab, Lotion, Rexane, Audio Compass, Kasha67, Shara Picasso, Nathan Your Misery, Hunter Tane, Fabled Steven, Roger B, Owen, Chris R34444, Horbjorn, I listen to the podcast whilst on the toilet and in the shower thinking of Yiska, Peace Camper, Anxiety Pokemon, Sir Girthalot, Bronzebot, Boohow, Evan, and Alex S. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate all your support. If you would like to support, go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. You don't have to give a certain amount of money. We have a few perks. You've got dedicated roles and channels in Discord. We've got guaranteed access to game nights and movie nights. But ultimately, it's just a way to thank and support your content creators. And you can do that by going to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. And another great way to support is just to leave your Twitch Prime subs right here at twitch.tv/Kickedtripod. And then, of course, again, money optional on all that. And just like, thank you for listening to the show. That's the kind of the big thing is really what we care about the most is that you're listening to or watching to a show that you enjoy listening to or watching and that you find it entertaining, informative, whatever else you're coming to the show for. We really do appreciate it. Apologies to YouTube last week. I uploaded the video and didn't put any manual ads in. So YouTube did it for me and put 8 ads in the first 60 minutes.
Oh, God.
I apologize.
Everyone seems to be having that issue, I think.
Yeah.
That was just,
I've seen a couple
Budget has as well, yeah.
that was ridiculous. And so, yeah, anyways, apologies there. But we are going to go ahead and get out of here. And before we do that, yes, guys, shout outs for the week. Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Once again, you might look forward to next week. I got finally, like next week is probably going to be a ton of Overwatch content. Wait, is next week which day is it? Yeah, next week is Christmas, guys.
Next week is Christmas.
Wow, dude, 2020 went so quick for me. I don't know, like nothing about my lifestyle changed. I just worked a ton. Therefore, everyone else has been in a hyperbolic time chamber from my time perception. But basically, like next week, like we required Christmas content. I was like, I did Christmas content last year. What was it again? Oh yeah, power rankings. So yours truly is going to do the dumb thing and do preseason power rankings starting next week. Probably will only release over Christmas, realistically. Expect 9K words on all kinds of. I'm not sure if it
Call
will
them
end at
power
9K.
rankings or something. Like, give them another name.
Something like this. It's really more an evaluation of how I perceive the off-season situation to go. Also, more transparency and insight into teams. I got a couple of long-form interviews booked. So I heard loud and clear it was already in the works beforehand, but that I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the French content creator and shoutcaster. But that type of deep content and also like asking the hard questions.
AlphaCast?
No, Zaroid. People will be able to piece it together. You know who I'm talking about, Joe?
Yeah, chat knows. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, though. As to not
did they
offend.
right?
Yeah.
Zardine? Zaroid?
I think Sardine sounds familiar.
I don't think it's Sardine. If I'm going to guess, it's definitely not that one.
Zaruit? Maybe? Okay,
Maybe.
whatever. I'm sorry. But yeah, like that's not similar, but long form interviews. We also have I had a fun idea because I know you guys are lazy as hell in watching these. So I got something for you as well. Yeah, that will be my next week.
Sweet. Joe, what about you? Shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
I too have Christmas content coming out. It's definitely much more fun and bear pokey in that way, where doing a little Overwatch Christmas list, maybe send that over to Papa Jeff's PO box. We'll see. This evening, though, looking at some scrutinized Overwatch players and kind of picking out a few and hyping people up on some of the storylines coming into this season, and maybe continuing that as we get closer to the season start come spring. And then tomorrow, I've somehow conned this lovely website GG Recon into allowing me to write about WoW. So I get to try and defend the Maw. That's what I'll be doing.
John, this man is trying to defend the Maw as his own.
I'm going to.
Here's my defense of the Maw. Torghast is in it. It leads to Torghast.
That's one. I'll give you that much. That is one.
Wait, you're defending Torghast?
No.
Oh,
he's defending the Maw. I'm saying the one defense of the Maw is that Torghast is in the Maw.
So
that's it.
Both of your opinions are shit. The Maw sucks.
Yes.
And Torghast isn't any better. Except that Torghast is at least a good idea. The Maw isn't a good idea, and it wasn't executed well. Torghast is a good idea that is a 45-minute waste of my time. Make it 15, 20 minutes. We got a deal, baby. Shorten those floors a little bit. Make it a little bit faster. It's super fun. I love collecting these things that make my character more powerful, and boom, by the floor 5 and 6, I should be slamming, right? It's a dungeon crawler. I get it. But if I'm spending 30 minutes on floor 1, it's dumb. And here's the real shitter, bros. So if I go in, I play a Shadow Priest, and I can finish barely the fourth hardest difficulty on my Shadow Priest, but I can pop on my Disc Priest that I never use, don't have bars set up for, and do through level 6 solo. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
They're scaled differently for healers and tanks and
so
DPS.
Healers, it's like so basically if you're a DPS player, you're at a disadvantage. Like Mage, Warlocks, Hunters, I'm so sorry for you guys because you don't even have the option. But if you are going through Torghast right now as a DPS and you have a healer or a tank off spec, you're a f***ing chump. This was
I felt like I just stacked Fade abilities, and
I feel like I can't do weeks off on this episode because I just have a lot of
he's built
pent-up opinions and energy. I don't know what it is.
I'll try to change your mind. I don't know that I'll succeed, but I'll try to defend the Maw as best I can. Because I think there's some things that I think should be said.
Oh, the part where nobody's ever gotten out except for use your Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Mounts don't listen to you here though.
Yeah. Little continuity issues for sure, but
that's the thing. Like whenever I walk through Ouroboros, it's just like, hello, Mawwalker. Nah, I'm not the Mawwalker. I'm the more Jaywalker. I walk where the fuck I want, bro. I go in, out, in, out. This is like nothing. What is death? Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's like, you know what? If you want to make if I pull aggro and I get hit by a mob and you want to dismount me in the Maw, okay, fine. But when I'm trying to go from point A to point B and I'm just like strolling along this empty, barren pathway with nothing there, nothing to click on, nothing to mine, nothing to do anything. It's just bad. It's just bad.
I mean, it could be better in some ways, that's for sure. Could be a lot better.
The real question is, could it really be worse? Answer's no. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
Could be garrisons.
Yo, I still make mad money on my garrisons. Don't you be hating on garrisons. Don't you be hating on those. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out. Hope you had a fun time today. We will be back next week with another episode of Tactical Crouch. And of course, we will promise you a game night or movie night soon and not give you an actual date for it. We love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.